One. Yeah, we are live. Welcome everybody to Dev Exchange. Today has been very, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day, bro. What's up?
We have so yeah, there was some delay today because I had to do some work stuff. Yeah, but I'm glad that we're still having because I would have been stunned if this exchange didn't happen. Yeah, I'm so excited about today's exchange. Stefan is a very awesome guy, and I'm happy to be having a conversation with him. And I'm looking forward to learn stuff from him. And I hope that those of you who are watching will also learn stuff from Stefan. Yeah. So before prolonging this introduction, my name is Francis Adai. If today is your first time of watching Dev Exchange is basically a hangout with developers, project managers, program managers to learn and get some insight into what their processes are, what they go through when they are doing their day-to-day work, and some of the tips and the tricks that they employ to remain effective and productive throughout their day. So today we're lucky to have Stefan, and Stefan is very strange. He's a very strange guy.
Oh, Charlie.
A very smart guy, but he calls himself the dumb tech guy. Yeah, and it's something that we're going to get into. We're going to get to the bottom of why he calls himself the dumb tech guy. Yeah. So if today is your first time and you have questions, you can use the live chat and put in your questions. Yeah,
Yep.
and I'll make sure to ask those questions to Stefan. If you're on Slack, if you're on the DevCongress Slack, you can put your questions there to follow up on there and pick up questions. Yeah. So, Stefan,
Yeah,
man,
man.
thank you for accepting the invitation to be on the show. And I'd like you to introduce yourself formally to people who haven't met you or people who know you, but would like to, introduce yourself in a way that you're comfortable with.
Um, okay. I'm Stefan Froelich. Most people know me as the dumb tech guy. Software developer living in Ghana. Born, raised in Ghana, half Ghanaian, half German. 29 years old, turning 30 next January. It's my 30th birthday, so you guys should make sure you give me gifts. A lot of gifts, you know. Primarily I'm interested in server-side development. My core stack is .NET. Postgres, yeah, that's it. But yeah, I'm more of a programmer than anything else. Like almost all my life revolves around programming and stuff like that. Very few hobbies. But I'm really glad to be here. I've been waiting for an opportunity to get on the show. Always watching.
Oh, it's so excited. It's so excited to have you. One thing that, like the first time that I met you at a Dev Congress meetup, one
Yeah.
thing that was very obvious was you like to talk. Yeah,
Oh
you talk
yeah.
so. Yeah. I mean, how do you end up there? How do you end up like the guy who likes to talk and the guy who knows so much about stuff?
How I like to talk, I don't know. I was an only child. I've been thinking about it for a while to understand why I have that. I think I had a need for people to validate me a lot when I was growing up. Maybe led me down the path. But how do I know a lot of stuff? Trivia. I read a lot, or at least I used to read a lot of books. I used to, and back in school, my head was almost on the desk all the time because I had a book underneath I was reading, random facts from Bing encyclopedias, stuff like that. So I read a lot. That's why I tend to know a lot of trivia or random knowledge that people take for granted.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So for you, how did programming start for you? Where did it all start?
Whew. I had a very tumultuous journey on my programming career. Um, I used to be very interested in understanding how software worked as a kid, like very interested in, oh, I want to build my own music player. I think I was talking about Jet Audio the other day, about back in the day when we used to use Jet Audio. And I was like, oh, I want to build my own music player. I want to see how it's done. And I didn't know how it was done back in the day. I didn't know, we didn't have the internet back then. So you couldn't go online and find out, oh, this is how you write code. This is what you use to compile it, or this is what you use to build whatever you're doing and run it. And it took me a very long time. after a while, I was introduced to Linux. I was told by a friend that you could build software in Linux. And we used to have those Kubuntu distros back in the
Yeah.
day. Yeah, I installed it and I went through everything, and all I could see was gedit and stuff. I was like, okay, so where do I start the coding? And I was completely lost. Fast forward to university level 200. In school, where we had this. It used to be mobile.web.cr. You could set up mini forums online, and then we had Ghana WAP, and then we had Ghana Base. So basically, Ghana Base kept battling Ghana WAP, saying we could hack them, we could take control of their mini forum, and we sort of did. We managed to brute force someone's password, and we deleted all their posts overnight. That was really hilarious. But from there, we started learning batch scripts. You write a batch script that would restart someone's computer. So you put it in startup, and immediately the computer started. It would shut down again, and people couldn't understand what was happening to the computers and stuff like that. And I dabbled in a little bit of Python, which Ajoke, he's on DevCongress as well, by DJOKS, had given me a book by Swarup called A Bite of Python, which I had read, and then I understood how programming worked. But it still didn't really work out for me too well, because when I got to object-oriented programming, the section on that, I was completely lost. I had no idea what was going on. And the next thing was I didn't know how to look at packages and find like a package that I wanted to do, maybe open a file that was like on the OS. So things that were in the book I could do, but things that were I had to go find out for myself, I couldn't. So I sort of gave up on it for a little bit until my friend from Ghana Base fished my account on Facebook. So he basically created a simple PHP page, sent me a link, and I clicked on it. Dumb young man. And he got my password and came to me, hey, I got you this. He was in the same hostel I was in. So I asked him, what did you use? He said he used a language called PHP. I was like, okay, let me take a look. And then I was like, I'm going to get you back, right?
Let's slow down, Yes, let's slow down.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, you've done PHP before. I'd say that, okay, you learned about PHP, or you heard about PHP and you got intrigued.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what did PHP do for you?
Well, luckily there is, and there was an amazing amount of resource on the internet for PHP. PHP MySQL was a thing back in the day. You went online and everything you found, you could find how to do anything in PHP online. So basically, I had a rich source of information, which I abused. I really used, and within a short period, I was deep into programming, like staying in your indoors for months at a time without actually even stepping out, just coding, just trying to get stuff done, giving yourself random tasks and then going. So PHP basically explained a lot to me. So I started understanding, if you need something, you need to look up if there is a package that can do that, or if there's a function. But the beauty of PHP is almost everything you need to do exists in the standard library. Like it has almost every function that you would ever need until you start doing complicated things. But PHP had almost everything you needed. So it took me a very long time before I even needed to download someone's script and then use as a library. But yeah, PHP made it easier for me. It lowered the barrier for entry for me, and then it made me understand programming. And that's when I started going into more statically typed compiled languages. Java, I went into C#. Didn't do much Python after then though, because I didn't really need it. JavaScript obviously came. And SQL, if you need to program, you need to know SQL. So that sort of came. And that's how I'm here today.
Oh, so for me, I'd say that, well, it started from HTML, then it went on to CSS.
The
Then
front end guys. Yeah.
I mean, I naturally progressed to JavaScript, and that was because I was following a syllabus for a course. Yeah.
Okay.
A course that I was supposed to be part of, but those who were organizing the course decided to change their mind. Like they didn't organize the course. Like the course didn't happen. It didn't take place. So I decided to take the syllabus, then start on my own. And so when I go to JavaScript, it was really tough. It wasn't making sense. Yeah.
No.
And I just decided, okay, let me just go to PHP. I went to PHP, everything started to click. And yeah,
So
that time back.
same
Yeah,
thing I
get to,
felt, right? Like it doesn't click in another one. I got into PHP and it's like, oh, okay. Eureka moments every day. That's how I found PHP to be. Like it's just made everything click for me. You
right.
know,
So I mean, yeah. So like when I was doing PHP, it was really, I think that time it was the era where we used a lot of Dreamweaver, and it was always like so frustrating for me to use Dreamweaver to do PHP stuff because
yeah.
you need to connect to a database, you needed to follow some wizard from one step to the other, and that was just so frustrating. I was always curious. Okay, how can I interact with the database with PHP itself?
Yeah.
I could never do that, Dreamweaver thing.
I didn't go through any tools. I basically went unstructured. I remember back then when you said, "Oh, you were doing programming," like people were like, "Oh, yeah, I'm learning programming too. What are you doing?" Go HTML, CSS stuff. I was like, "Okay," but I was lucky. I just went straight into writing scripts. You should see my code from back then. It was
Yeah, I did a bit of backend scripts. I did like a Flash, that kind of Flash programming and stuff.
yeah.
I think I did it for that.
It was exciting back in the day, learning. It's now a job. It's now no longer a hobby. It's kind of it hasn't lost its shine and allure, but programming back in the day, discovering it was a really amazing time. Um, I'm worried about people who learn JavaScript as a first language today because, like you said, like I don't really think JavaScript is a good first language. I don't think it's great for beginners. There's just too many edge cases to be aware of that I think as a beginner it might frustrate you. There are just too many different, and it's not like every other classical language. You have prototypal inheritance. You have what is pretending to be a functional language, but in essence is not really a functional language. I think it's just breeding a lot of confusion in young developers today than helping.
Yeah. So I think at this point you've come very far in your career. You're chopping big monies.
Oh, boss, we're still working. We're still working on.
Yeah, we're taking on enterprise gig and stuff like that. That's really impressive. Yeah.
Man, it's
So
been a long
what
time.
what I'm curious about now is how the journey has been so far. What has been the time then when you realize that this I've made it, Mama, I've made it. Yeah, and the time that you realize that have I really made it? Like the time that you felt so high and you felt accomplished, and time that you realize that okay, you don't know anything or you haven't accomplished anything. Yeah. So take a picture for me.
Okay. When I started programming and I saw what other people could do, I always kept feeling, oh my God, like when Minso Dabeng, when would I also get there? You see people do
Yeah,
stuff and you're like, how are they doing this? When would I understand this? Um, to an extent, I still feel like that every day. Like I see what other people do and I'm like, okay, these people are good. Um, do I feel like I've made it? No. It's still a journey for me. I think programming is a lifelong journey. It's an art. So you need to fine tune your skill over time. You learn more techniques, you get better at it. But are you ever going to be a god? I don't think so. I think everyone makes huge mistakes. Where I felt like I had achieved something, even though it's not an accomplishment, like I've made it, is when I counted my first offer for a job and they came back and accepted it. You understand? That's the point at which I felt okay. Um, I think I've achieved something in life where I can ask for what I want
yeah.
and get it. But have I gotten there yet? No, I don't think so. I think the journey is way too long to assume you are there so soon.
So for you, did you have to like when you could get the concepts of programming, did you just did you get an entry job or you freelanced for a while before you started working in a corporate setting?
So I started programming in level 200. I think that was around 2009, 2008. I got out of school 2011. So yeah, let's say 2009, 2008 ish. No, out of school, I didn't get a programming job immediately. During my national service, I got the waiting period between national service. I got a small internship with a single developer. It didn't go too well. He wasn't here. He was in the UK, and we didn't get to do a lot. I just tried that for a couple of months, and then I left. But from there, I went on to Fidelity Bank, where I worked at the help desk, and then I moved on to learn a little bit more about infrastructure, running stuff. So I came straight from working at the help desk to working on infrastructure, managing, monitoring, ensuring uptime, supporting people. So I have a lot of support experience. I have a lot of infrastructure experience before. And during this whole time, I was still practicing my art. You understand? I was still building software. I was doing small tools for myself. Like we had to do reports at work. I wrote small scripts to generate my reports. And at the end of the day, I just generated reports and send them. And I was free. Stuff like that, like easy things to make your work much more easier. I got out of school. Sorry, I got out of Fidelity and moved to IBM during an outsourcing agreement with IBM by Fidelity. And then I stayed in IBM for, I think, a year. And that's when I decided, look, I think I'm good at programming. It's time to go out there and then try and make my career here because that is what I love. And I quit my job at IBM and went for a job at Yeah, trust me, it was a good job. It wasn't bad. It was cushy. You got good benefits.
Money, I mean, dropping money from day one, you know.
Oh no, it's not. You see, is it money if you're not happy? It's always my thing. If I'm not happy, I really don't mind if I don't have a job and I'm happy. It means more to me to be happy than to be gainfully employed where I'm not happy. So I left.
How is the how is the hungry? How is a broke and hungry man happy? How do you find happiness when you're broke and hungry?
You see, I don't know if this applies to everyone in life, and I don't want to say things that
That's
sound like
I mean, you're trying to get philosophical here. Be hungry.
No, you see, when I quit my job at IBM, I was hungry for a while. And when I say hungry, I mean hungry. There was a point when my shoes had holes in them. Like I'm kidding you not. This is a true story. Like nobody will believe it. Like I used to walk to work, and then by the time I get to work, when it rains, my socks are wet. Like that's how bad it was. But I didn't care because I was happy writing code. Like I went to write code. Of course I earned something, but was it the same as what I was earning? No. Was I hungry? Yes. But was I hungry for success? Yes, I was hungry for success. And that's the whole point of my life. Like I'm hungry for success. Just get successful as much as you can. You know, you can be a programmer and be working in a company or for people you hate or at a job you hate and be earning very good money. Does that really fulfill you? I don't think so. You can be a programmer working for a different company and a job you love, learning a lot, but earning much less. Are you happy there?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you rich as hell? No. But your happiness tends to override how much you earn there. So I think sometimes choosing your career, you should focus more on what makes you happy, where you tend to have more opportunities to learn, rather than focusing more on how much you are going to earn. Because you can earn a lot but not be happy. You might not even do any coding in your entire career with that company.
All right. Remember, like when you look like something that you're writing bad script.
Come again?
Chatting. Like I think earlier when you were talking, you made mention of the fact that at some point you were writing bash scripts to reboot people's systems when they restarted their system. Like when they were booting their system, after it's get restarting and stuff. Yeah. So I think around 2008, 2009, there was a very popular virus. So when it gets onto your pen drive, it will just make all your files go poof. Like
I remember that. We used to use a script to unhide the files. And then
exactly. And I didn't write a bash script.
It was a bash script to unhide the files.
And then just unhide the file. Yeah.
Yes.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was cool. It was cool. What was it? That was in the what was it? That it was this Raila Odinga. Do you remember the Raila Odinga virus?
I'm not sure. Maybe
it did something similar. Raila Odinga was Oh, we've had a lot of interesting things happen. Yeah, but I think Ralo Odinga also did something similar to that. But I don't remember the name of the virus that did what we just spoke about.
Okay, so I have a question here on the
Yeah.
chat. Who is coming from? He is asking. Okay, so this is coming from Samuel Adrani. He's asking, what is your recommendation for a first language for beginners?
A first language for beginners. Okay. I'm gonna go with Python.
Oh, my man.
No, I am gonna go with Python. Yeah. Yeah, like you can't go
Sorry.
wrong. You can't go wrong. Why? One, I think Python is easy to set up. So I'm looking at a low barrier to entry for a developer. It's easier to set up than other languages. Um, it teaches you almost all around stuff. So you learn a little bit of procedural, you learn some object oriented, and then it'll get you into the flow. And if you are beginning, one of the things that helps is when you have positive feedback. So when you're able to achieve something and get it done, you write code that works, you feel good. It makes you happy, and then you do the next thing. So you're looking for a language that isn't too hard to get into, but that isn't too soft as well. That will teach you bad practices. Like a lot of the criticisms you hear from PHP is that it teaches people bad practices. I think that's true to a very large extent. If someone were to come from C to write PHP, they would usually write much better PHP than someone who just learned their first language was PHP. If you look at it, so you should learn something like Python, and Python gives you the ability to do a lot of complex stuff. You can write like actual server code. You can like run long running applications in Python rather than the limitations that you get with PHP. If you're going to go on, I think if you still want to continue on the web and you are not interested in setting up servers and stuff, then PHP is the next good step because you would be able to get still free hosting, which exists now. Well, I don't even think hosting is a problem today, is it? You have Google App Engine giving
Man,
you.
Heroku just makes everything simple
Yeah,
now.
you
Like,
can. So yeah, I don't think hosting is even a factor like it was back then. But
yeah.
yeah, from Python you can make your jump. Have no worries about learning languages. Again, don't focus too much on the language you're learning because your language is just a tool. Focus more on learning about programming, about focusing on the if you're going to learn the fundamentals of programming, understanding how to structure code, how to do these things. These are skills that you can transfer. That if you move from Python to C# to Java to whatever, you can transfer those skills into any language at all you go into. Your first language, however, should have a lower barrier of entry so that you don't feel frustrated. That's the only reason why you should learn a slightly easier language. But afterwards, don't focus too much on the language. Just focus on learning programming. Usually, throughout your career, you write a huge number of languages. You might write one today and never write it again. It's just part of the trade. You write it for a small portion of your application, and you never bother with it again.
Yeah, right. I mean, I agree with you. The thing is, for me, programming is solve problems. Really, it doesn't really matter which programming language it is that you're
Not at
using.
all. Not at all.
The overarching goal is to be able to put yourself or develop yourself to a point where you can solve a problem when you're
That's
doing
that's
facing the problem. That's what people
that's
are going to pay you for. It's not the
that's your
programming
job.
language.
That's your job as a developer. Your job as a developer is not to write a language. So you shouldn't go around proudly saying, I'm a Java developer, I'm a PHP developer, I'm a C# developer. No. Are you a developer or not? You're either a developer or you're someone who writes some language. You can't be either. Because a developer's primary job is to solve problems. If you can't solve problems, then you've lost your value as a developer. Learning a framework or a tool helps you, but right now I can pick up a framework or a tool and learn it within a few hours and be doing similar to you. I might not be as proficient as you because you've been practicing it for months, but I'm going to accomplish what I want to accomplish in that same framework that you have been doing for months in a day.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. And I think not long ago I sent out a tweet, and I was just there, and it hit me that of late, anytime I learn about a framework, I'm actually curious about how that framework was put together. I mean,
That's an important thing.
yeah, I mean, what's the architecture? How are the components of this framework coming together to form the framework? That
Yeah.
those things are things that I've been very interested in and passionate about. It's not
Yes.
really okay. There's React, so I'm going to use React to build the next, hot thing. It's
Yeah.
how was React developed?
Why
How
is React different? Why is React
so,
special? You know, how does
exactly
React do things differently?
why is it different from something like Angular or even jQuery?
Or jQuery or Svelte, or how do they do it? It's an
Yeah,
important part of being a programmer. So one thing I used to do early in the days when, of course, I had a lot of time back then to practice, which most people might not have today, was I rebuilt almost everything I saw. So if I saw an image upload site, I rebuilt a poorer version of it, but in the end, it taught me how an image upload site worked. Right. The next time I'm building a different site where I need to upload an image, obviously I'm going to draw on the skills of uploading an image. It doesn't matter whether I'm in C# or Java. The same process of uploading an image applies. You click
yeah,
submit, it posts to the server somehow, some way. Either your framework handles it for you or you have to save it and then pick it up. Frameworks help. They make things easier for you. But once you start hiding behind frameworks, you tend to dilute your skill because all you know is a framework, which is, again, another problem most Rails developers face. Some Rails developers don't even know Ruby.
yeah.
For that, it's true. Like some Rails developers don't even know Ruby. They just know that they can write something in Rails and it
That's
works.
truly,
You know?
man, truly. I can hear how Real say you don't know Ruby.
Oh, Charlie, I kid you not. Some people can't even tell you things about Ruby, but they do Rails. You know, they can they can't write standalone Ruby code and it will work. No, if it's not in Rails, it won't work.
I
I
see.
had I had this joke by an interviewer who said he was interviewing someone for Ruby and he said the guy should write, let's say, a hello world in Ruby. And
Yeah.
immediately the guy did, I think, I don't know the command, but it was something like Rails install or something. So he was going to install Rails to write hello world.
Reels.
So yeah, you don't want to be that developer. You don't.
Okay. So what has led to your decision to choose a particular programming language? Is it the project that you're working on or your interest in that programming language?
So right now my primary stack, as I said, is .NET, and then my database is C#.NET, and then my database is Postgres. Um, when I'm doing the demo, you would understand some of the reasons. C# is a very versatile language. .NET has frameworks for you to write web applications, desktop applications, server applications. Now it's even coming up with SPAs, like it's called Blazor, for you to run all these things. So what I was looking at was a very versatile language that is easy and has a lot of features. And .NET is packed with features to the brim. That if you were to do it, you'll be amazed at some of the things you can do in .NET. So mainly what I can use in as many places as possible, and performance. C#.NET is pretty performant across the board, no matter what you're doing. Is it as performant as maybe if you're writing C or C++ or maybe Go? I don't know. But in general, it's on average, it's very performant across board, no matter what kind of thing you're doing. So yeah, it's easy to use, it's powerful, it's dynamic, and then it has users in a lot of places. So that's why I chose the language I'm in. And it's very well supported with very good tools. Visual Studio is a good IDE. Not my favorite though.
And, you're a Microsoft guy, so I mean, no,
I'm
you
not,
know,
I'm not a Microsoft guy. Look, I used to hate Microsoft so much. When I was doing Java, I used to be like, back then you didn't have community versions of Visual Studio. So to do Visual Studio C#, you had to either pirate Visual Studio or buy the IDE. You remember, and that was then when we all used to hate Microsoft. I still don't consider myself a Microsoft guy. But the first time I wrote C#, I was like, this is Java, but better. That's the first thing I said to myself. I said, this is Java, but better. And since then, I've been hooked. No reason to go back.
What happened? What happened to C Sharp?
To what?
C Sharp. Microsoft came up with some programming language like that. I mean, like, was it J Sharp or F Sharp or
F
which
sharp,
was?
F sharp, F sharp still exists, but F sharp is pretty popular though. But it's mainly a functional language. So if you're coming from Clojure, Scala, Elixir, F sharp is what you would want to use. But C
Uh,
sharp is more of the object oriented version. Yeah.
so aside the Microsoft, related technologies or programming languages, what other technologies have you played with, and what made you even work with those programming languages?
I already mentioned PHP. I already mentioned Python and why I went into them. PHP I still use sometimes for quick prototypes. If I just have something to do really quick, I use PHP. I've done Java. I've done Java for server for background services. I've done Java for Android, mainly Android. Most of my Java has been in Android. Um, I've done Clojure. I wrote Clojure for server side when I was with Trade. Um, I've done Elm. Elm
Yeah,
is
all
Elm
over
is
the place.
Elm is a compiled to JavaScript language, so use it for browser stuff. It uses what we call model view update. So it's a different paradigm. You have a model, you have a view, and then you have an update function. So anytime you do something, it has to go in through the update function for the new model to be created. So it's really good. Like it gives you unidirectional programming. If you like React, then Elm is like React on steroids. So you
Okay,
have, sorry, Flux. When I say React, I usually think of React and Flux together. So you have data flowing in one direction, very easy to reason about, and you can do time traveling. So you can store state, and then you can sort of go back in time to view whatever state existed at some point.
right.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I've done a lot of other things over the years that I haven't bothered to remember because, again, I told you they are just tools. And
Yeah.
one day I'll be called upon to use a different tool, so I don't really worry too much.
I think talking to you, what I find is you work with a lot of technologies. What I'm
Yeah.
curious about is how do you find the time to play with all or double in all these technologies?
So what I tend to do is if I find a new technology that I like, I try to find a project for it. So if I have an upcoming project and I think, okay, this is a good fit for it, I do it if it's personal. Some of them also are business mandated. Like when I was working with trade use Clojure, so you had to learn Clojure. So that I had to learn for the job. But Elm, for example, I played around with it and I loved it. And then I had a project I was doing with Petra Trust, which I proposed, and then CTO, the CTO was an agreement, and then we went ahead and used it. All of these other stuff right now, unless I'm doing it for a project, I don't really bother to learn a framework unless I need it for a project. I
Oh.
don't go sitting around learning stuff. No.
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, that I suspect your favorite ID or code editor would
No,
definitely be Visual Studio.
which I told you already is not.
So then, what's your go-to ID for development?
Um, if I'm not doing .NET, I would go with anything from JetBrains, IntelliJ.
Hmm.
I'll go with IntelliJ. I love IntelliJ. I used to use ReSharper and C Sharp for the IntelliJ bindings, but it was slowing down Visual Studio quite a bit, so I moved away from that. But if it's anything else to do Java, to do Android, to do even I think PHP, I would go with IntelliJ.
Okay, cool. Uh, I think at this point we're gonna have to get into the demo session, but before we do that, I just want to bring up that we are looking for people who are interested in helping DevCongress develop its job board. We're working on a job board because we realize that over the years people have been posting jobs on the jobs channel
Yeah.
and a lot of traction. So we're trying to make it more formal and get a dedicated application to have people or to employers and recruiters to be able to post their jobs on there. So this is purely community-driven project. And if you are on the exchange today and you know some Ruby, or you have some time and you want to help with a project, it can happen.
Who said Ruby? Is that
Or
Yao?
just Rails, just Rails.
Why are we going with Rails? Is that Yao?
It's fine. And he's not a lead. He's not a lead on that project.
I already started that project. To be fair, I started that project a while ago, but I think we need proper direction on the product. We need someone to properly define the product and say these are the features and functionality. Um, if we're able to do that, then I think it'll be easier for us to get more people on board. But if it comes to people working on it, you have quite a few people who are willing.
Yeah. So I'm just putting this out there. So if you're watching and it's something that you're interested in and you want to work on to contribute to the development of the community, because it helps whichever way you look at it. It helps the employer, it helps developers and people in the ecosystem, because that's what we're trying to develop. We're trying to do things to move forward the ecosystem. Yeah. So with that said, what do you have to show us today?
Okay, so just going to show you a simple, what do you call it, code generator we've been building for internal use. Sometimes you need to scaffold quick and dirty applications.
Wait, so
Like you
when
need
you say internal use, what do you mean? You are now going corporate on me. I mean, what do
okay,
you mean internal use?
internal here being at WITS, Working IT Solutions. So
Okay.
sometimes we just need to do a quick demo for a client to show him if he likes it before we build. You don't want to put too much manpower into an application and then it doesn't work out too well. So yeah.
Okay, so I don't know, but I think we didn't talk about weights, and I think it's a very important milestone in your life, and
Uh,
it would be the story won't be complete if you don't talk about weights. Can
no.
you, in a few minutes, talk to us about how weights got started, what you guys are doing, and at what stage it is now?
Okay, so WITS was started by three developers and another business guy on our end. And that's another thing. If you're starting a company in this country, or if you even start your company as a developer and you don't have someone who can handle stuff on the business end for you, you're going to struggle quite a bit. So we started WITS to do development, outsource development for companies. And that's what we've been doing for a while now. We've done quite a bit of work. Right now, we have some amazing guys who have joined us this year. Shout outs to Draco, yeah, Minu, Kasprin, Wahid Debbie, Wade Debbie on DevCongress, and Clint and Emba, who've joined us. We're working on some cool stuff. And this year we've started something in payments. Hopefully, we should have something by December for beta for people who are interested to pilot with us. So
Oh,
yeah.
all right. So let's see the code. Let's get hands on, right?
All right. Give me a minute. Let me thing out. I just need to load. I'm not going to presentation mode though. Screen share. There we go. My entire screen. Yeah. Okay, great. Give me a second to pull up something for reference. No, gonna pull something from. Okay, I'm gonna take this. So, no, this is what I need. Okay, cool. So, basically, what we have is plutonium. We use it to generate very small applications for internal stuff. First, create my folder. Okay. I don't need to show you. Hold on. npm hello cake. If you want to play around with this, you can find us the generator on npm. It's based on Yeoman, but it scaffolds a .NET application. So you just need to install Yo and then install the generator. If you run Yo yellow cake, oh man,
You
it'll
can
give you the kind. Yeah, I'll give you the kind of applications you can generate. It takes a minute to warm up. So sometimes what we realized was if you're starting up Yeoman for the first time, it sometimes takes a minute. I'm not sure if it's the generator we're using or not, but the subsequent times it runs pretty cool. And this application has actually evolved now. It's really, really not for production use right now, so I wouldn't ask anyone to use it in production. It's just mainly for demos and for small applications. It's very poorly documented. So if you do use it from npm, please be aware that you'll be on your own. So what you can do with Yeoman is you can scaffold an entire project or you can scaffold a model. We'll see what these are. So we're going to go with yellow cake project. And I'm already in dev exchange drive, so it should scaffold the entire project for us. And then we can proceed. So I'm going to call it dev exchange. So if what we did was, if you're creating a user, do you want it to have profile field? So you'd see that it has a default for a bio, which has a type of it's a multi-line field, and it's nullable. So I'm just gonna keep that as true and then continue. But you can pass in an empty array, an empty JavaScript array, and then it would create a user without any fields. All right. Cool. So our application is scaffolded. You have, let me open this in Visual Studio and then we can take a look. What you have here is the core, which is the core project. The core project holds all logic pertaining to the application. And then you have the web, which is the web project. So you don't put any logic in web. All your logic goes in core. The idea is if you want to expose the logic on the web, you create a web project. If you want to expose it as a server-side application, you only need to create a new console application and then link it to the core project. And then you can do all the stuff you want to do. Okay, cool. So give me a second. My machine recently died on me, so I'm using a backup machine. If you come into like web, you notice it doesn't have a lot in here. It just has the startup.
When are you switching to a MacBook?
The MacBook, no, I'm not. I use the MacBook. I loved it, but I think it's too expensive to justify the usage.
I see.
So like we have already some configurations for you. We have a lot of tools in there for node services. Node services basically for generating PDFs and stuff. We've set in everything. It's basically scaffolded. So you don't have to do too much here. Everything is done for you. I'm going to build this so that it brings in all the requirements. I need to run a script when I start, which is, let me hide this. Okay, cool. I need to init it. There are a few things that I need to do when I start. So to do migrations, I have a little application which I built, Plutonium Migrator, that does the migrations for you. So I need to add all those things to the application and then deal with it. It's added as a submodule in Git. There is a core dependency as well, which is the Reactor, which contains a lot of, if you look here, you'll notice now we have the Reactor and then we have the Migrator. Reactor contains, like, it's our core library sort of. It contains a lot of things that you can do. It gives you some extensions, gives you certain stuff like the audit log, which is part of the application, gives you a base repository. Just common stuff that you need to do. That's not application specific. The reason we add it as a submodule is so if you need to override something, you can test. Like we have things in here that help you. Okay, so we're gonna come here and then give me a second.
Why is it that the generator doesn't add the submodules while generating the project
So
files?
again, this is very young. I would say like it's still something we use internally. It's not really should I say stable. So there's a lot of things that we've not done that we should do. But with time, as we go, we're going to do it. Having a little problem building this. Give me a minute. Sometimes it messes up. Visual Studio.
That's what happens when you use Windows. It's not predictable, you know.
Your face.
You throw predictability out of the window and just hold your stomach when you are doing compiling or building something, because it might work.
There's just something funny that sometimes happens when you load a new project and you try to build. I don't know why it's failing this time. What does it say? Migrator. What's it saying here? Okay. Is it failing? I see it red down here, but it looks like it's building this time. I'm not really certain. Oh no. I already set up a project earlier on. Let me see if that one runs so that we can use that instead of trying to sort this out. Okay, here, where were we? Clean the solution. Says I can't find. Oh, hold on. Okay. No, we actually don't need one here. Let me check this guy's. Okay. I'm going to try build this again. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back into the initial demo I run. Okay, I think we are good to go now. I think so. Ooh, fingers crossed, knock on wood. There was a mismatch between the project's architecture being built in Miss Island. Okay, so we built this time, yay. All right, so we're just gonna run this web and then see what happens. Oh man, taking a minute there. You see live coding. Live coding will always mess with your life.
Live coding on Windows will always mess up.
Oh, this is not Windows matter. This is live coding matter. It is the same everywhere. Yesterday, today, and forevermore. Yeah, and this laptop is kind of slow. It's not the best. I just wanted to get something to use whilst I fix the other one. Taking a minute, aren't we? Okay. So basically, it's scaffolded this. You can edit this as you wish. It's just come up with a few pages that don't have any content in there. If you were to click on login won't do anything for you because login is not wired to do anything yet. It's just the same page. So in order to make sure our login works, first thing we need to do is to go into core. And this is one of the interesting things I was telling you about when you're doing C#. So you notice I have everything in a folder called .pu. What we've done is there's a pattern known as sorry. There's a pattern known as double this. Hold on, let me open this and show you. So look at what we have here. We have a base auth controller, which is empty. It doesn't have anything. But notice the modifier here saying partial. So when you have a partial class in C#, what it means is that you can define said class across numerous files and still have it see it as one file. So this allows us to create like a base file for you so that you can override it. So everything in .pu, we assume that you should not change. So if you want to update this, you need to create your own partial version and change it. Now, in order not to make everything tied to auth controller and make it overridable, we created it as a double derived. So auth controller has to inherit from something else, which is either a base controller or like, so we have our base auth controller. Ideally, auth controller would inherit from base controller or something else. And that's where we'll define the common operations. So if you look at base password controller, auth controller, we have a login action. But auth controller doesn't have anything yet. So what we'll do is I'm going to do some shortcuts here. We'll create our own version of that file, and then we're going to override it and tell it that it should use what we want. So hold on, let me do it maybe to be clearer when I have this. So these will go because I don't need them. So the design consideration is we have to make it as updatable as possible for everyone. But we want to also make it so that you can override every single thing. And that's why we came up with this pattern. So I'm going to inherit base password controller, and then I'm just gonna, I don't need this anymore. So auth controller here, and then it calls base. So this will be public. Cool. All right, so now we said we wanted to do base password auth controller. There is another provided controller, that is the base token controller. That one requires you to log in like using a token, like an OTP. You know, like a magic token from what we do with Slack.
Yeah.
So if you come here, you'll notice that we have a base token controller as well, which has a login and register. So that's ideally what we use for something that's public facing. If I were to run this now, you'll notice that now the login button is wired, but we still have some configuration to do that we haven't completed. So let me finish this. Oh, actually, yeah. Cool. So now when we click on login, because we've wired up auth controller to inherit from base controller, the login is now going to be wired to the login page. I think I've already done some login somewhere, and that's why this is happening that way. But let me log out. So where is it again? Oh man. Yeah. So even though login is working, there is nothing actually tied to it. Give me a minute. Let me try and log out. Okay, here we go. Cool. So this is the login page now. Now, if you came to login, this is what you'd see. But when we try to do anything right now, we have not configured the database. So it says password authentication field for Postgres. So what we now need to do is to go and create, let me create a new database for this. PSQL. So I'm going to create database devx. And then whilst that's creating, I'm going to come here and then update my development settings.
So basically, this is
Come again?
basically this is a workflow
This is a web what?
framework.
Yes. So once I create the database, I have no idea why sometimes this thing takes so long. Okay, good. We're done. No need to create that. And then come here. No, not that one. Generator yellow cake. pgadmin 4. Yeah, I'm a Windows guy. I use a lot of GUI. If you don't like it, we can talk later about it.
Is that being your
So now that we have the DevX, you notice the DevX won't have any tables in there, unfortunately, because we haven't run any migrations. So login is fine, but we're going to create that. Now let's go here. Let me show you this. So you have your migrations folder, and we have the .pu stuff. So you have the initial. Let me show you some interesting stuff that we create in the beginning for you. Crap.
So why the name of the directory .pu though? Is it
So
mentioned?
So if you have anything in directory the .pu, that means it's generated by the system. If you want to
Oh,
override it, all you need to do is create the same thing outside .pu and put your code. So if I
oh,
copy initial and put it into migrations directly and
yeah,
change this, it would pick mine over the version in
yeah,
.pu.
I get it.
Yeah. So the idea is that as we fix and we update and we upgrade stuff, you would be able to like update as well without breaking your custom code.
Exactly.
Exactly. So like we create stuff like your audit log, we create your user audit log, stuff like that. All this is here. Let me just create, first of all, let me run the migrations, and then we can see what the system looks like, and then we'll create a single model, and we should be good. No, I wasn't there. Where am I? Here. Yep. So const string, and then I'm gonna run .scripts migrate.bat. So I provide a bunch of scripts for use in here. So if you come into scripts, we have quite a few things. Init, migrate, to rollback, and then to update. All this stuff. Update is for the updating the submodules, not updating your database itself. Okay, so it's going to restore random migrations, and then we can check the system out. Let's try to log in and see what happens. So yeah, there was an interesting question I said I was going to answer. The first question being how I came up with the name, the dumb tech guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as I said before, as you go through life, you notice that you're not complete, like you have not gotten there yet. So you realize that you're still dumb. There's a lot you need to learn, and there's a lot you need to do. Okay, so right now we've been able to authenticate to the database, but the tables don't exist because we're still running migrations. But the dumb tech guy basically is me accepting my infability as a human being and understanding that I don't know it all. Even though I argue vehemently like I do, but yes, I definitely don't know it all. Oh man, 1 second, what's happening here? It's like the devils today just have no. Okay, cool. They have no chill. All right, so migrations are running. Checking migrations running. This should now work. If we go into PG admin, we should have tables now.
So
Yes.
what's your strategy towards database migrations? Because I know there are different school of thoughts. Somebody says that you shouldn't have an app that you shouldn't have down, right? So the down method should always be empty, and you shouldn't drop a column. Like you should do it in multiple deployment steps. You know that all those kind of stuff. So what strategy do you use when you have databases that are in production?
Well, the thing is, I tend not to run like I've never needed to use a down before. I don't. I never thought of it like if I have a stance per se. But if you want to create a down, I don't know why you would. What
For
are you?
rollback. So
Yeah,
if you want to, whatever you put up,
I
you
understand.
roll
I mean,
back.
what are you rolling back? You created a new column and you're dropping it. Like, do you know how expensive it is to create a new column on a database? you get. So I
Yeah.
think you should have like your rollback as well. Is it going to affect your DB in a way that won't work? I have stuff in rollback. If you check down, I have stuff there, but I really tend to make sure that I never need to run a rollback. So if you check, I have proper stuff in the down to delete and remove all these stuff. But
And that could be useful in development environments, like when you have something
yeah,
down.
so for
So
development environments, perfect. But in production, I don't think you should be running rollbacks. If you're getting into production, I think you should be ready to.
once you have data, it's not something that you want to do.
Exactly. And you shouldn't even be running migrations yourself. If you have a DBA, it's much better if your DBA is running your migrations. But if not, then you should be running them yourself and possibly monitoring to see what's happening. Okay, so we have the application. This is just a dummy dashboard that I got from the templates I'm using. But let me show you an example of what this looks like. So remember when we're creating the profile, we created the profile to have a multi-line bio. So you notice that we have bio here. So
Yeah.
if we wanted to update that, we could actually regenerate the application and specify. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to do that. In my rollback, some stuff we've done, and specify different columns here in there. If you come in, you have user management by default granted to you. It's role based, but it's permissions, granular permissions per action. So if we wanted to edit the system user, we could add stuff in there. Most of this is incomplete, but you can see a user, you can see the profile, you can view the audit logs. Let me edit the current user. I'm using the admin. Let me do an edit, and then let's add a bio. Contact guy. Submit that and come into our audit logs, and then we see our audit logs here perfectly. So the first time was he logged in, there was an update on the profile, stuff like that. You get it, right? It gives you proper management of your stuff. Now let's see how permissions work. So if you were to come into what I call features, you notice that under features we have .pu. So we have like let's call it user. So to add a user, you have a user command. Now if you look on the user command, it has an authorized. So it says that this user command is an authorized message that requires the permission of user.add. And these things are checked for you by default, like by the system as you create. And then if you want to manage roles, you would come into roles and say, you have a new role, let's say basic user, and then you can add various roles to him. So we did it granular permissions on every action. So we created granular permissions on every action, but then we made it role-based so you could create various roles. So you can add user trash, a user, stuff like that to a person. And depending on a user's permissions, they would see certain aspects of the UI because we put in those checks in the UI as well. So we don't display, if you can't edit users, then you would not be able to see the user edit button. Now let's create a simple model. Let's say we wanted to list toys. That's why I opened this here. This is an example of JSON that we use to create. So if you notice, this is a simple field. You would have the position it should appear in, sometimes in the form and in the list where you want it to appear. So the name of the field, the type of the field, which is an integer. References here says it's a foreign key, and it references the model BMC. There's a check rule that says this is required, and then we want to index this as using the simple index, a simple B tree. So you have things like program ID, etc., etc. The types, you have integer. Most of these are integers, but you have types like dates. You can specify if it's nullable. There's actually a JSON schema file that you can use to reference and find out all the different types and all the different properties or attributes. We have string types. We have multi-line strings. So we have multi-line here. We have decimals. If you set decimals, you could set a precision and say it must be 18 and then a scale of 2. You could do things like quite a few things. Date, multi-line. Okay, I use quite a small subset of stuff here. Okay, so an example here is a unique index that we have here. The name of a fund source should be unique. So let's create a very simple, we're going to create a very simple set of toys. So our toys are going to have an ID, and I really like using .NET++. Simple to use, works, doesn't really break. Here we go. Okay. So we're gonna say name, name. And we're gonna say it's a string, and then we're gonna do much here. We're not gonna, okay, so this is required, and then we're not gonna index it. You know what? Giggles, let's do that. Position 10, we're gonna call it description. Then there's a multi-line string, and then it's not gonna reference anything. Basically, if you were to choose reference, it would, okay, description required, index simple, and then let's say of birth, we're gonna go with date, and then we're gonna go with, okay, I want to add a decimal. So yeah, so we're gonna have salary. Again, the position here doesn't matter too much. So long as it's in the order you want, that's fine. We're gonna have your decimal. This one we're gonna check and make sure it's true. Okay, cool. The only thing is we can't use this straight away in the command line. So I need to minify this using minify JS. No, this one. Fiber. Yeah, seems this one has never worked for me. Let me go back. That's what I usually use. The only reason we're doing this is because we need it as a single line. So I'm going back into my, and then I'm going to say,
Be a single line.
because I'm entering in the command line.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. So we're going to add a model called employee. I'm just going to, I'll call it person. Doesn't really matter. No. Oh man, take a minute. But yeah, this has been an interesting project, like converting ideas that I've learned from other projects I've built and trying to put them into a single code generator. It's been a lot of work. There's still a lot of work to go, but in general, it tends to work how we want. We're planning on making this a full-blown project and giving it full internal support so that we can scale it out to do a lot more than we currently do. Like one of the challenges right now is if you have foreign keys, the UI does not generate any way of dealing with foreign keys. So we're going to call this person. And then it's going to ask you, so the plural version, how you want it. We've given you a default of people. We're going to stick with people. And this is just a sample of what you can generate. You can do rules like the length of the item must be between 0 and 255, stuff like that. So I'm going to put this in and then hit enter and have it generate. Cool.
For the grammar.
I used a JSON schema.
For the grammar?
No. I used an inflector to convert from singular to plural. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, singular to plural. So now if we were to come here into PU, you'll notice that a new person has been generated. Now it gives you the default stuff: add, fetch, get logs, list, restore, trash, update. So this gives you like the basic CRUD that you need. And then if you come into controllers, you'll notice that there should be a new people controller. So if you go into people controller and you go into the double derived, you'll notice that it has all the stuff that it needs to accept, passes it, and then it sends the call for you and does all that. So this is done. Now we need this to appear in our navigation. So the menu on the left, we need it to appear there. So I'm going to edit the nav. What's happening? What's share? I'm going to do nav.cs. And then I'm going to leverage assembly stuff and say I'm going to create a menu group called, I don't need a menu group. So I'm not going to create a menu group. I'm just going to create a simple menu item. Call it people. Menu item, people. And then it's going to point to the people controller. And then remember I said you need the permissions. So what's the permission? Oh, hold on, no, this is the route. And then here, the permissions, sorry. So this will be people.list. If the person does not have people.list permission, he won't see that menu item. So let's save this and run it. Why did I put in a group? This shouldn't be in a group. Kind of messed that up. This shouldn't be in a group. List people, position. So I think it came into the people stuff. So I'm just going to get out of here real quick, get this out, person, and I'm going to give it 400 just for, I don't even remember what the actual one for admin is. Admin might be 10. Admin is, okay, admin doesn't have one. Oh man. Okay, so we have people here now. You can click on people. Forgot to run migrations. Happens. So, I don't know whether the big news should be announced now or we should do it later. Francis?
You're almost wrapping up with this, right? So after the demo,
Yeah,
then
okay,
I'll we take some Q&A, then we wrap up.
cool.
I have
So,
2 minutes.
yeah, so it's been run. Now you have people. You have a new crowd screen. You can create a new person. Francis. Hi. Lahos, date of birth.
Sheila?
uh, 1900. Because you're old and your salary is 10 billion. Plenty. Plenty keke. Okay, so that's a numeric number overflow. Too much. Your money can't be recorded in my app. So if we came to this, you notice all this stuff. Okay, so there was something I didn't mention, but you notice if you come here, nothing is listed. So if I modify this just a little bit, and then I said list equals true. See Daisy. Where's my minify? Real quick, just want to show this. You keep minifying this as CSS, dude. And then model. So if I come back, you notice that it repopulates the initial code that I had, like everything I did.
Yeah.
What we do is that yes, I want it to override. So you notice the list.cshtml has been changed.
Yeah.
There's a conflict, so I need to override that. I could have done this change myself, but because we store, this one, but because we store the, yes to all, please. Mainly, what you notice is here, we store whatever parameters you've given us. So if it's a change that you want to be long running, you need to run it through the generator again, even though you can edit it yourself and be fine. So here we go. So you notice that, it says undefined. No idea why. Need to fix this, possible bug. So here we have dev exchange fields. This is the profile fields. These are your person plural. There's your person fields. And this was the person date as at when we're creating the migration. The idea is that the migration file shouldn't change. Initially, it kept generating new migrations, but that has sort of been fixed.
Do you really think that you use Rails? You come back and how do you feel when you use language like Ruby and even a framework like Ruby on Rails and you come back to do all of this stuff in C#?
I haven't done Ruby on Rails.
There is something going on in the chat, and
you see,
that of configuration convention. Really.
This is the reason why this is a lot of convention. If you notice, a lot of it has to do with convention. The only reason
a lot of configuration. That's what I see going on here.
Yes, it's a lot of configuration. But it's more of this the idea. Okay, so I've created this, right? I don't like the way it is. I want to edit it. So like I have my table up. It creates the thing for me. This is what I don't like about frameworks like Rails and other like Laravel and stuff. What they do is they take too much agency from you. It's what I feel. So you notice that if you are doing something in Rails, you have to, it's done in the framework and that's it. But with this is a generator. That's the difference. This generates the code for you and you modify it to suit you. So this is not like the framework is going to handle it for you. No, this is the tool generates a set of things for you and you can modify it any way you want. So you notice there are a lot of
and I believe Rails will let you extend. Laravel will let you extend. I don't see the point where you need to.
At this point, I have full control over the code. There's nothing that is being handled by something I don't know. I've always said this that I don't like. I don't know. I've always said this. I don't like. How do you call it? How do you call this thing? I don't like magic. I don't like things being done that I don't know. Yes. Rails.
I
Rails.
Don't like Django.
Rails.
But there's nothing magic.
Same thing with Rails. There's just too much magic in there, which I don't like. I can't seem to find what I need to kill for this. Oh crap. Well, I think we might just end it here because I showed everything I needed. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, we know that you're battling with Windows. Yeah.
No, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. No, but the idea is scaffold. You know, when you're doing a lot of custom applications, you want to have a lot of control over what you're doing. So this just allows you to get the mundane work out of the way. Like if I wanted, I wouldn't have done the view thing in here. So you know Francis Ada is now here. But it's just a helper. So it generates this for me and then I can modify it. If I wanted to modify this entire screen, all I need to do is copy the view file out here. So if I came here and then I copied this file, people, and then I copied the list view. You know what? Let me just do that real quick and show you what I'm talking about. I know we've already taken a lot of time, but let's just do that real quick. Let me explain. So, and so if I came into people and all I wanted to modify on people was the list. What I'll do is let's just add. So this is it. It's generated it for me. Do I like it or do I not like it? I can say that put a huge, you know what? Just get rid of everything here. So guys.
So that what's that? Is that a word? So you can just put a string like that, literally like that.
Yeah, so this is Razor. So what's
Oh,
happening here
okay.
is, yeah, this is Razor. It's our templating language. Basically, you write it, and then anytime you need to do actual code. Oh no, this is that right? Yeah, I think this might break. The way it's been underlined, I think it might break because this is actual code. Like if in the if block, it's expecting actual code. That might actually break. I think it might not.
That's what I was curious.
Yeah.
All right. So I think it's fine. We can wrap up on the demo session and get on the other stuff and pick up a few Q&As before we wrap up. Yeah.
Did you see what I did, Francis? I went and deleted the files in the generated.
You didn't take your own advice.
No, like I didn't realize I was still in that file. Yeah, we can wrap up and do the Q&A, and then that'll be it. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, it's been fun. It's been dense.
Yeah, it has been dense.
And maybe it's dense for me because I haven't looked at C# code in a very long time, and I don't intend to look at it.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. You don't know what you're missing
out. Yeah, this one I like to see.
But a lot of the functionality that we have in Plutonium wouldn't have been possible if we weren't running it in C#. Like giving us ability to do partial classes and stuff like that. Wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I think that's cool. I am familiar with the concept of the partials and being able to apply that idea to classes and composing classes to form a bigger, thing. It's awesome. Yeah. So the big news.
Yeah, let me kill this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm trying to kill screen sharing. Okay, so the big news. Okay, so starting 5th of November, I'll be joining Andela as a senior consultant.
How does it feel?
I'll be joining the live. It feels like it's been a long time coming, but it feels good. Finally joining the ranks of you. Actually, able-bodied men like you, Edem Kumoji, and others. It's exciting. I can't wait to see what it's like.
You're a strong man yourself. Yeah, we're happy to have you as part of the team.
Charlie,
the team is growing. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really amazing. Some of the things that Ghanaians at Andela are doing. We're just basically kicking ass. Yeah, really nice.
I hope we are whooping the Nigerians.
Oh no, we're not doing that, man. We're not doing that. We are all kicking asses. Yeah, we're all doing well. But it's really amazing. All the GH folks at Andela, like, they're making a good name for themselves. It's very impressive. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So Ghana, we have great talent. That's what makes me happy. That makes me happy that okay, we have great talent. We're very successful when we get into Andela. We are succeeding in our engagement, and we are helping Andela succeed, and that's a very good thing, and that gives us a lot of hope. Yeah, and we're just looking for the day when Andela will open an office in Accra, so that young and up and coming developers can also get the opportunity to
So we can get all of
join
them in there.
Andela. Yeah, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
learn and improve themselves and develop a technical leadership, and take control of their own careers. Yeah, because now it can be very frustrating if you're fresh out of school, you're looking for an entry level role in Accra. It can be very frustrating. Yeah. And I think I know people who have taken it into their own hands to do freelance gigs to gather experience, and even some doing open source projects and stuff like that. These are things that Andela exists to help with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm just rooting for the day that an office in Accra is open where we can do the fellowship can be extended to.
I think
It's
it's
just
important.
that most Ghanaians don't really want to travel to another person's country to
Obi
do all
Mans.
this stuff. Yeah, and they like structures. Yeah, and they like putting in structures to help uh, developers or folks who want to join the fellowship to go to Rwanda to be able to do that. Yeah.
Oh, that'd
So
be
we're
really
just
cool.
hoping that a lot of people express interest in doing the fellowship and traveling and going to join the fellowship. Yeah. So, Stefan, very welcome. You are very, very welcome. Yeah, I'm so happy that I was. It was when we had a chat and you told me that you just accepted Andela's offer. I was very happy because I know it's been in the pipeline for a very long time.
It has
Yeah,
been.
so it's good. It's good that you finally are coming to join us. Yeah. All right. So let me take some few questions from the
The chat.
um, Yep, there are some questions here. I mean, a lot of the folks on the chat were, going back and forth on. So I think yeah, was just being mysterious here. He was saying that like people should start. You take a shot anytime that you use a P word. You know what the P word is, right? PHP. So anytime you say PHP,
I'm sure people were drunk by now.
yeah, the Derek is saying that at this frequency, I'll be drunk in 2 minutes. Yeah.
You need a drum.
Yeah, we say PHP a lot.
Uh,
Okay, so let's see whether I can find a question here. Mm,
uh,
pa, pa, pa.
so a few.
Okay, so there is one question here. This question is coming from someone. Someone is asking what has been or is still your challenge in software development?
What has been?
Yeah, or is still your challenge in software development?
Um, Again, it all comes back to what I said earlier. Software development, I feel, is an art. It's not a science. There is science to it, but it's not a science. The challenge has always been finding that right balance between um, perfecting your own skill versus learning from people and all the constant learning you have to do. Um, it's a really heavy learning intensive career if that's what you want to follow. So that's been my problem, like keeping up to date with all the newest stuff. Like you leave a framework or a platform for a month and you come back and it's completely new. I don't know if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
basically what been one of my challenges, making sure I can keep up with the newest changes as I go.
yeah. Okay, so there is another question here from He's asking, what's your experience with ASP core?
ASP.NET Core. Basically,
I
all
don't
I
know what.
use, yeah, all I use right now is .NET Core. I don't generally differentiate between ASP and then the others because I just use .NET Core. But .NET Core has been improved, so now you can run it on Unix, Linux. You can run it on Windows. I think it runs on BSD too, and then it's open source now. Performance-wise, it's amazingly performant. Like it's blowing out almost everything out of the water in terms of how performant it is. They recently rewrote, I think, sockets in managed code, and it outperformed the what they replaced before, which was native. So ASP.NET Core is very well written, very well done, very well designed. If you're going to be programming in C#.NET from today going, you shouldn't be using .NET or .NET. You should be using .NET Core. You'd actually appreciate it. It's like dependency injection first. Everything has been restructured and rethought out and re-architectured. It's really awesome to work with. It's something you want to do.
What's the difference between ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Core?
Okay, so .NET Core is just where they changed to be cross-platform. The newest project, which is cross-platform and open. ASP MVC is part of ASP. You have like ASP MVC. You have Signalar. MVC is for MVC. You have Signalar, which is for real time. What do we call that? So WebSockets. It's a replacement for WebSockets stuff. It like falls back between WebSockets and other methods depending on what's available in the browser. Real-time communication essentially, and then you have ASP Razor Pages, which is for building like simple pages in there. But all of them are still on .NET Core, and .NET Core is the new framework that is written open source and runs cross-platform. The old ASP is based on .NET. So it's still the same thing. You just basically install .NET and then or .NET Core and then you write.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question here is, why do you use GitLab instead of GitHub? And that is being asked by some.
We've had a lot of arguments on this about this on DevCongress. I prefer GitLab. The fact that I have everything in one place helps me. Like you have your CI/CD in one, you have a service desk in there, you have your code repositories, obviously, and then all that stuff. It gives me a lot of stuff for free. And then I'm also happy with the fact that everything is cohesive and in one location. I don't like the whole idea of maybe using GitLab and then using Circle and doing things. You do get a lot of tools integrating with GitLab more. GitHub more. You tend not to find someone having support for GitLab, but I really don't mind because GitLab provides me the necessary tools I need. So, and I've been using GitLab from day one. I'm basically an early adopter of GitLab, so been through hell with them.
Okay. And is it another question? Is it like remote, or you have to be in Nigeria? And I know it's Safo. So yeah, I mean, I think this has to do with you joining Andela. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Andela's engagements are mainly remote, right? You can talk better about it. You do go to
Yeah.
Nigeria
So
for a
the
minute.
role. So you'll be in Lagos for a month for onboarding. So you meet the rest of the team in Lagos, in the Lagos office, and depending on how travel is, you'll get to meet other people who are not even in the Lagos office, who are also traveling to the Lagos office for
To come and do
other
something.
businesses. Yeah. Yeah. After a month, you come back to Accra and work remotely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's all the questions that we have over here. Yep.
Well,
All right.
I did see quite a few questions come up recently, I think.
Yeah, some of those questions I asked you when we were talking earlier. So.
Okay. So I think Derek also Frimpong was asking if I've contributed to a tool of choice, example C#.NET. I haven't contributed to C# directly or .NET directly, but I have I've contributed to other stuff like libraries I use. I've made most of my stuff also open source as well. Yeah. And Yao says GitLab free is horrible. Well, I don't know. I'm an early adopter, so I think maybe my free version is different from yours. I recently got an email from them congratulating me on being an early adopter and thanking me. So I think there are certain differences between GitLab and GitLab free that you have and then the GitLab free that I have, maybe.
Yeah, then again, yeah, it's always trolling. So who knows? Probably he has
Maybe
the
so.
same. It says that he just wants to troll.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Cool. It's been a very long day,
It has been.
and I Stefan, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be on here. And
Thank you
I had
very
so
much for
much fun.
having me. I had fun myself. It's been really good. It's been long. It's almost 2 hours, huh? Quite long.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
So
guys.
this brings us to the end of the exchange. Okay, so before I go, Samuel is starting a Twitch channel on Sunday.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to call out channel, but it's Sandraini. I don't know. Can you help with that? Sandraini or something like that. So twitch.tv/SADRANYI. So if you're a Twitch fan or if you're interested in joining his show to learn about technology, I think the title of his channel is what Demystifying Technology. If you want to learn about technology, be sure to check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, folks, thank you for joining the exchange today. It's wonderful having you, all of you, and it's been a fully packed day for all of us.
Yeah. And
I'm
thanks
just
everyone.
gonna wish you a happy weekend, and I'll catch up with you next month.
Great.